Welcome to this video overview of designing a technique-oriented sport training game for motivating a change in running technique by myself, Ian Smith, Erik, and Scott Bateman from the University of New Brunswick. There are a variety of benefits to playing sports, not just physical benefits, but also social and cognitive. Unfortunately, many athletes drop out for a variety of reasons, including the boredom of training or being demotivated because their performance plateaus and they aren't getting better. A main cause for performance plateaus in sport is from the adoption of bad habits, which are techniques that put a ceiling on potential performance. Bad habits can be trained away through drills, but this increases the problem of boredom since many people find drills tedious and repetitive. Further, adopting a new technique can actually cause a short-term dip in performance as the athlete tries out the new, unfamiliar technique until they become competent with it, which can understandably be more demotivating. Technique-oriented sport training games offer a potential solution to this problem by motivating people to adopt better sport techniques. Exergames have been successfully designed to help motivate people to exercise, and they often include sport skill movements. While Exergames often use immersive game elements, such as juicy design and narrative, to keep the player engaged, immersive elements have been theorized to be a distraction for players to learn new skills in other types of serious games. So we don't know how immersive game elements might affect athletes in technique-oriented training games. It's great if immersive elements make the games more fun and encourage athletes to practice new and better techniques, but not if they actually prevent athletes from successfully practicing those techniques correctly. To investigate the impacts of immersive game elements in technique-oriented sport training games, we conducted an experiment that compared 3 different variants of a game, along with a non-game baseline designed to train a particular running technique. Most people naturally run with a heel strike technique, but there's evidence to suggest that this technique is not optimal for everyone and can lead to injury. So our intervention supported users in switching to a mid or forefoot strike, which we will refer to as toe strikes for simplicity. We developed 4 conditions of the running app for the Karen system, a state-of-the-art immersive treadmill that integrates a 180-degree screen, spatial audio, 6-degree of freedom platform, and optical motion capture. This system allowed us to accurately classify running technique and provide immediate feedback, while the treadmill automatically adjusts to match its user's speed. Our 4 training conditions were designed to increase the level of immersion over the previous one. First, our baseline was non-game feedback that displayed a text pop-up when players performed an incorrect heel strike. Secondly, a text-based game that provides basic game elements, levels of increasing distance, losing health from heel strikes, and restarting the level if the player runs out of health. Thirdly, an audiovisual game that adds a compelling visual narrative of running across shark-infested waters in a 3D environment with juicy feedback for health, and adaptive music that becomes more tense as health decreases. And our final condition added motion feedback, shaking the platform that the players ran on as health decreased, and actually dropping the platform a short distance if health reaches 0, to simulate falling into the shark-infested water. The experiment began with calibration to identify each participant's target running speed, followed by a demonstration of the toe strike technique. For each condition, participants ran for 1 minute to familiarize themselves with the condition, took a brief break, then used each design for 2 minutes. Participants were instructed to try to avoid heel strikes while maintaining target speed. After each condition, they completed a questionnaire capturing their player experience. The audiovisual game and the baseline condition both led people to use the toe strike technique more often than the text-based game did. Participants ran slower in the non-game baseline condition than the text-based game, which was expected as they were more frequently using a new, unfamiliar toe strike technique, which led to a dip in performance. From our player experience metrics, we found that the audiovisual and audiovisual plus motion conditions provided a more enjoyable and engaging training experience than the text-based and baseline conditions. This included significant differences in elements from the PXI and IMI, such as audiovisual appeal, challenge balance, interest and enjoyment, value and usefulness, mastery, and sense of progress, without differences in perceived effort, perceived exertion, perceived competence, or autonomy. Finally, the audiovisual plus motion game condition created a heightened sense of immersion and meaning compared to the baseline and text-based game, while also causing more tension and task loading than the baseline or audiovisual game without motion. Our results show that sport training games can indeed motivate athletes to adopt new techniques, while being more engaging than non-game training. The more immersive game variants were just as effective as the non-game baseline at getting players to adhere to the prescribed toe strike technique, while offering a better player experience. However, our text-based variant performed poorly in terms of technique adoption. This is possibly due to the text-based feedback being less salient than other conditions. We also found evidence that new technique adoption can lead to a demotivating performance dip, which did not translate to a dip in player experience, likely because the game helped athletes better enjoy the experience of adopting the new technique. So, should we design technique-oriented sport training games with as many immersive game elements as possible? Not necessarily, as we found that our most immersive variant, audiovisual plus motion, scored higher in task load and tension than audiovisual without motion and the non-game condition. Some participants enjoyed the added challenge and exhilaration of a little fall when they lost all their health, while others found it to be too distracting or even scary. So, game designers should use elements like motion carefully. So, to summarize, we found that immersive games could make technique training in sport more engaging, while remaining as effective as conventional non-game feedback. We also found that simpler text-based games were less effective at improving technique than conventional non-game feedback. Our results suggest that properly designed technique-oriented sport training games can be more effective than conventional technique training options, although games must be designed carefully because insufficient feedback can actually decrease training outcomes. Unlike Exergames that focus almost exclusively on motivating exertion, technique-oriented sport training games require new sensing infrastructure and must be carefully designed and tested to ensure that new techniques are being adopted in the best way possible for an athlete. To fulfill a vision of athletes having ready access to quality, safe, and reliable training, more research is needed to explore additional sports and techniques to better understand how sport training games can positively impact participation in sport by all. Thank you.